There we go. Hi, let's try again. I thought I hit the mute, but I think I hit the wrong one. Um, this is Cindy
And Michael.
from Part-Time Permies. And if we could get a sound check this time, that would be great. Um, no, Bella is down in the swing behind me here. We'll see how long she lasts there. She is wide awake and staring over here. Before we'll see if she joins our show a little bit later. Yeah, we have a delay going on, so I just now see the no sound and should be on in a second. Okay, so yeah, we got the sound back. Okay, I have a feeling Bella's not going to stay in that swing very long. What do you think?
I don't know.
So, hubby driving back to Marietta called because he knows I have a date on Sunday night. Called early. Yep. Tina was missing us last week.
We were on the road and with your family.
Yeah. So we do have a couple pictures from the road, but if you guys missed any of that, you guys should follow West Michigan Pasta on Instagram because some of those road trips are because of pasta reasons, and we were doing a whole story on our travels with Pasta Bella, who I will grab out of the swing here. But hi Bella. I almost called you Pasta Bella. Somebody seems to want to join us here, so just a moment. Yeah. Here she comes. Here's Bella. Grab the blanket. So, anyway, sorry for the delay getting started. I was hoping she would actually settle in on the swing, but that didn't work. Puddin sighting. Did Puddin move too? Puddin's on the couch as usual. She's won that battle for the moment and got the couch back.
We have to put a couple boxes there or something.
But we do have something new that I can show you. Did I put it up here? I may not have put it up here. I'll have to play with it and see. There it is. Okay, hold on. We have this now in the other room, which is, I just got pictures of. We literally just put this in the other room this evening, like an hour ago. We unpackaged it, an hour ago.
Picked it up yesterday.
Yeah. So we have a new couch and hopefully a little more pet-friendly couch, but we'll see. Puddin, of course, likes to hang out with us, so if we're hanging out in here, she's probably not going to be on that couch. She'll probably be behind us.
I think she's going to find that couch and then she's going to want to be on that couch because it's bigger and softer.
Yes, there's actually 6 pieces to that sectional, so it's a nice one. It's from Costco. It's not too bad in price, I don't think.
It's actually
what? It's a 5 piece.
It's 6 pieces.
Yeah.
Thomasville, something like that. I mean, it was vended through.
Yeah.
But it was I don't know.
Hi, Miranda.
It seemed like it was a good price, and it was overly large for American large bodies, I guess.
But and our great room.
It seemed like it's a fairly big room and need to fill. So
yeah.
And well, actually, the thing that was most interesting about this one, other than it had a material that seemed more cleanable and less pet nail problems.
Hopefully, yeah.
But it's also completely sectional, so you can lock the pieces together or rearrange them into 2 sofa and a mini sofa, or you can convert it a couple different ways. So that seemed like it might be useful for that room. So that ended up finally making it here. That was mostly Christmas presents from family. It was sort of the project for this winter, and so we directed any Christmas funding towards that.
Yeah. So that was Christmas present this year, which ended up working out really nice. Somebody's a little fussy.
10 minutes away from Thomasville. I think it's Thomasville.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up.
It's on that's what it said. Well, I mean, it's China, of course. But unless you get hardwood, we have, go down to Shipshewana and get Amish furniture.
Yeah.
Hardwood, which they don't really do so much couch work.
No.
And it seems like cheap couches fall apart and expensive couches fall apart. So not overdoing it was probably a good idea.
Yeah. So anyway, double-sized bed for Puddin. Actually, Puddin has a bed, literal bed, in our bedroom. she has a old antique farmhand bed, which is a single size, except it was shortened down to be a kid size, so it actually takes a crib mattress, which she fits on perfectly. So she has
And
claimed that.
Jello used it
We I set it
a
out for
little
Jello.
bit.
He didn't use it
Did
as
Boomer
much.
ever? Not really.
No, it was
No.
after Boomer. Yeah, it was in that end time.
Boomer had mattresses and other things, and
He,
yeah,
yeah, he claimed a futon in New York.
he had a futon. Yeah, he
That
had a
was a full size.
futon that we took off the frame. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a full size futon mattress for the Saint Bernard.
that was his deal. Except for in the summer it was too hot. He didn't
Yeah.
want to sleep on it.
So. He'd sleep with his head hanging off onto the floor.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should say hi to who's here. We haven't done that yet. Your mom's in the room. Linda's in the room. Kiri from Built on the Rock is in the room. Tina's in the room. Who else do we have?
Miranda, who's a local.
Miranda's in the room. Yep. Yeah, her own dog is spoiled. She is a completely spoiled dog. But yeah, it works. It works. It saves some room in our bedroom, I think, because she gets the corner.
Danes, because they have less fur. They get cold, so you actually they do all right. I mean, they're not terribly high maintenance, but in the winter and stuff to give them a little bit more
cushion,
some form of a cushion, and they're kind of bony to give them something to sleep on. It's probably good for that. For the bigger dogs like that. I mean, for the Saint Bernard, it didn't really matter. He kind of went wherever he wanted.
Tina's coming back as our Great Dane.
It's
because you want the antique farmhand bed.
The dogs do better than most of us. They,
yeah, I know, right?
Hang out and sleep all day. They can go outside whenever they want, although they typically want to be inside.
Yep. Sugar Creek, hello.
Get fed, and yeah, it's pretty. I guess they get pretty good.
Yeah. Sugar Creek, are you new to our channel? Welcome if you are, or to our live show for that matter.
Another driver, yeah, we get works well. A lot of people driving.
Drive and listen at the same time. Yeah.
No, she doesn't have a sweater, but she has a coat.
She does have a coat. She has a bright orange coat that
hunting coat.
A hunting coat, basically. So because we do have the woods and back, and we do have some people who hunt back there in the fall. So
very occasional, but just to prevent any confusion.
Yep. But she wears it all winter, so it's a nice warm coat that they make in Dane sizes.
Previous Dane had a raincoat because he didn't like the rain.
Yeah, he did, and a rain hat too, for that matter. If you Puddin was the original Dane mascot of this channel. He only died 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So yeah, he was the original Dane on this channel.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yep. The sidekick, because he was involved in a lot of my projects, but okay, what did we do? Why weren't we here last week?
We were making deliveries, and you had a doctor's appointment, and we saw your family.
Yeah. Oh, Miranda says the pasta's the best.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Miranda.
I'm trying to make a lot of pasta and stay caught up on orders and deliveries and projects.
Yeah.
Got a big event this coming weekend, and I got a big event the following weekend.
Yep.
February's slow for most people, but because it's slower, I can do more things that are outside of just our normal business and markets. So
you keep busy.
February is actually really busy because I typically have these 2 events fall usually within 2 weeks of each other.
Yep. So we went on a road trip last week. That's Bella. The first of a series of pictures that went up on the West Michigan Pasta Instagram. And no, I know that chest clip isn't high enough. We were just getting her set up.
Cranky people.
Yeah, we had a comment on Instagram right away on that. Make sure her chest clip is high enough. Yeah, I hadn't even pulled the straps completely yet to tighten them up, but I thought she was giving some cute looks, so captured a picture of it. But we went to a number of places. I didn't include all the pictures here because you guys can follow the Pasta Instagram if you want to see stuff like this. But there was one fun place that we went to that I pulled a picture from. It was so nice and sunny. It was a little windy, but it was like in the 40s and sunny, upper 40s.
Last week, yeah, we had some 40s, we had some 50s. Sunday was like mid-50s.
It was almost, it was like in the 50s maybe.
Yeah, it was
warm.
It was the nicest day we'd seen all year.
It was windy but warm. And we went to Vestergaard Farm as one of the 4 stops for pasta deliveries because they have a farm store. And we did get to see their cattle out front, and that is one of their white ones. They have brown ones and
They
stuff.
have Highland cattle.
Yeah, so they're cool.
Mr. Vestergaard, who owns and operates the farm, and I think he does other stuff too, but
Scottish or something.
he is Scottish.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came from Scotland when he was a teenage college. I think
Yeah.
the website said he worked at like a camp, um, some type of camp counselor,
Yeah.
and then he ended up coming back and working
Yeah.
and kind of his passion. And so they're running an active farm with a little bit of a tourist component. He said it's coming up in the spring, and then they have a new farm store that's mostly meat based, but they're going to have produce in the summer. I think they're working with the local. I don't know if he's produce. I think he's working with the local other vegetable farms. He's got a real nice setup. He's put a lot of care and money into it.
Yeah.
And he's focused on the Highland cattle, which are much more traditional, less heavily bred or modernized.
It's a good meat.
They're a good meat. He was just got a new batch, and it was dark, nice and dark, beautiful marbling. I would say it was upper choice, which is hard to do with a lot of grass.
What is the breakdown on the grading system?
Well, prime choice and kind of high choice and lower choice, and then you get into select. And most of your grocery store is really going to be. It's not going to tell you. It's either going to be, or it'll tell you that it's choice, and then only 2% is prime. Now there's your upper choice, which is kind of what restaurants get. Might be like the top 3 or 4%, which is almost prime and is really plenty good enough.
Yeah.
So if you're selective, and that's just how much fine fat marbling you have in the muscle, not the fat on the outside. So yeah, the meat looked beautiful. It had a nice yellow cap, which means it gets lots of grass. When the fat's a little yellow, it doesn't mean it's old in that case. So yeah, it looks really, really nice.
Tina says she sent some pasta to her bestie in Louisiana.
Oh, good.
I'm getting around there.
Yeah.
Across a bunch of states. That's cool.
I get weird, not often, about once a month, I get weird calls and emails from who knows where. And a few of them have been people that, got things as gifts or got things as came through the market or have friends that are in our local area. But every once in a while, I just get some like out of the blue. I've had some, and can you send us some stuff? And I say, of course. Yep. It's on the website. So so we do that. I'd say about once a month. I get a kind of a cool out there order.
Yep, that's cool. And Miranda, yes, you will see us on Saturday, including Bella. And
probably won't. Well, you'll see me at the end, probably. But
oh yeah, you're gonna.
I got to get out early. Yeah. I got a busy day.
So it's Wine Not Festival next week, so that's gonna be
charity local wine tasting for what I want to say about 1,800 people there with tickets and volunteers. So it's not huge, but it's pretty big It's pretty big. This will be our 3rd year. So we know this event pretty well. It keeps changing venues every year, so it's a new. But last year was a hard venue.
Yeah.
But I'm really comfortable. They're always at hotels or conference centers. My work doing catering and stuff, and working in and out of hotels and some bigger food establishments. I feel pretty comfortable walking in the back door of the service elevator and figuring out how to get stuff where it needs to go and set up. Did lots of that. It's pretty easy around here. It's not so dense. It's not like a big city, so the logistics are pretty easy. In a big city, logistics is really hard because you're dealing with a lot of like tollway zones and cranky people and tips and fines and we don't really have that issue. People are pretty nice about and are very nice about getting stuff in and out for conventions. So
White Picket Fence and ASL Harvard Homestead are both here.
Moon was nice last night. We're getting a little snow. We're getting 2 or 3 inches. Although it was kind of, when I closed the chickens, it was kind of spitting a little sleety, almost rain.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's been going up and down. We got a little snow yesterday. We got a couple inches Friday. Got about 3 inches Thursday.
So we have a little on the ground.
It's all light blow. I've only plowed once. Maybe in the morning I'll have to touch it up. But no, I guess I plowed twice.
Yeah.
But it's, we've picked up 6 inches over the week, but it's.
Tina found her first asparagus spread today.
Wow.
Found my first asparagus spread. Spread? Oh, like in the garden? Or like you made a spread? I keep thinking food.
I assume that it was poking up.
Poking up in
You
the
must have got some
garden.
nice
That's
warm weather.
cool.
We
Yeah.
won't see that till May.
Yeah.
Depending on the year, it could be early May or it
Last year was late.
could be 2 3 weeks into May, and then it can run. Usually, it runs 3 weeks a month.
Yeah.
Pretty good. This really used to be the asparagus. The root of asparagus through the country was really right in Michigan in this specific area, but now
Mhm.
it's kind of been taken over by
Spear.
Peru and Spear. Yeah,
Spear, not spread. Got
yeah,
it.
and the first one can really take off.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is traditional asparagus, but actually less of it's being done now, just
Yeah.
because of costs and number of batches that can be grown
Yeah.
around other parts. They've taken the price out of it, and then the hand labor also has become expensive, so it's hard to compete. But
There's some farms that were pick your own near my parents for a
we've got
while.
lots of pick your own. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we
But
have wild asparagus. All you have to do is drive down the road in the fields, even on the highway. You can pick out
you can see where they
by
are.
early midsummer. You can see the matured asparagus fronds along
Yeah.
the wild asparagus. Yeah,
They had an inch of snow in South Carolina.
five
Yes.
inches. Wow, they're not
Wow.
going anywhere, I guess, with
No,
5 inches.
not in those hills. We were lucky last week. We were spring-like weather, so
Well, that
driving
that
across the
was
state.
that was the same storm that hit us. It was a nor'easter
Oh yeah.
coming down out of Canada that shot down and just kind of clipped us, and I believe that was heading south. So that may have been probably the same storm. It was
Hmm.
moving pretty
I don't know.
fast.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we got to see my family too. So that's my family with my mom, my sister, my nephew, and my sister-in-law. Hanging out with Bella. Bella got passed around the table
Your
at dinner
dad
time.
somewhere.
My dad is across the table from my mom, so he didn't get in that picture. And Holly's also in there, my niece. So, and your elbow is in that picture. But so we had a big table over at Zingerman's Roadhouse, which was fun. Um, then we got to go stay at my parents' house. So Bella and my dad both crashed. But what's new on that one? It's a baby and a grandpa. But they were cute.
You
Um,
had pictures of him asleep here a few weeks ago.
yeah, I did. They
It's
keep
almost the same picture.
it's kind of similar. Um, Puddin also came with us. So
Mhm.
she did really well sharing the back seat with Bella. And we had the whole trunk of the Pilot. The very back seat was down, and we had the whole back end
Well,
filled
I
with
had
pasta.
10 or a dozen, I think 10 boxes
Yeah,
in a cooler.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Puddin actually stayed on the seat with Bella. And by the way, I'm not driving the car. That my selfie camera seems to take mirror image pictures, so that is just mirror image, I guess. Um, but she did well. She got left in the car a few times, and then by the end, she was rearing to get out of the car.
Cat's an idiot. He waited for us to get home and then peed on the bed because he was upset because we left him generous food and
Yeah,
water for an afternoon till midday. So, 16 hours or
yeah,
we left it in about 24 hours. But he had free run of the house and he was upset, so he peed on the bed.
yeah. We didn't have the back door
But he
open for
waited
him.
till we got home.
Yeah, he
We
did.
closed the back door because
Yeah, we weren't home.
Pudding was with us, and
Yeah,
yeah,
we weren't
didn't need the
home.
back door. He has a litter box. He knows where it's at.
Yep. Anyway, this is the newest update for Bella's tummy time. She's lifting her feet and her head real high, so that's fun. I just thought it was cute, so I threw it in there. But that's basically the Bella and Trip updates. We also have some stuff growing in our greenhouse, and Tina sent pictures of what she's doing on her porch. So I'm just gonna show you what she's doing. She's enclosed her porch in plastic and put a door up there as
So you got
well.
a nice recycled door on there.
Yeah. So she's going to be growing things in there, and I hear you're going to be selling some plant starts and such at the market. That will be cool. Tina, are you going to start all your plants in your porch there?
Fun
Yeah.
thing that's popping up around here, and if you work it in pots and go to the end of the season, lemongrass and ginger
Oh yeah.
are being found. You get some baby ginger about that big and sell for about $3 4 a
Mhm.
piece at the end of the season. I bet with just a little more time and heat that you could get some decent starts on lemongrass and ginger, or finish them out in the fall and sell them because people are like, we didn't know that grew around here.
Yep.
And that's what everybody's kind of
Well,
the glut on potatoes and tomatoes and peas and beans, and everybody has the
yeah,
same stuff. So you fight over who has the better price or the better product. But you know what? Only so many people are going to have ginger.
that's true.
So there's
We
some
have
neat stuff out there.
wild ginger around here,
Yeah.
wild American ginger. Um, it's actually illegal uh, you can harvest, like you can plant and harvest your own, but you can't go and forage wild ginger in Michigan because it is a protected plant here.
Some around here, more up north.
Hmm.
We don't have any on our property that we're
No.
aware of. Don't really quite have the right conditions.
Yeah, so that is another thing. But I think some states you can actually forage it as well.
In the house, no heat. Yeah, and you're on
Yeah.
a porch, so the porch will gather heat, but it will shed heat or be drafty probably through the bottom unless you got a heavy insulation
Yeah.
underneath it. So you'll get nice daytime and you get nice sun, but maybe not keep the heat up
Maybe a
quite
little.
as much as you want. But you can definitely keep sheer winds or a late frost
Hmm.
off a product on a porch.
We do have some stuff starting in our porch greenhouse. We have some arugula that just started sprouting last weekend because it got warm. So I just have a pot of scattered seeds of
Arugula likes cold
arugula.
weather, but it does need to
Yes.
be a little warmer
Oh, it has to be above
to
freezing
germinate. Yeah.
to germinate. So we have the arugula there. Let me see if I can find. I have my list of pictures here. We also have this, which I started before the arugula by a couple weeks. That is the spinach. Now everything's growing really slowly, but that's because it's in the greenhouse. It's just barely above freezing during the day. So
Wild ginger and American ginseng are the same thing.
yeah.
Which is a very slightly different cultivar than Asian ginger. The Asians prefer American ginger, North American ginger, and
Mhm.
Americans frequently prefer the Chinese ginger, although almost all Chinese ginger at this point is cultivated. So I think the reason that Asian, Korean, or Chinese or whatever may prefer the North American is because there's a chance it could be more a wild strain, and it might have more potency. But
Mm.
yeah, but yes, wild ginger is basically a ginseng or form of ginseng root.
Okay. Now that they put the wiggle wire on, they'll be recording the temperatures in the greenhouse. Not so much flapping around of the plastic, I'm guessing right now. So
Yeah, I've seen wiggle wire. I've never seen it used like that, but that makes a lot of sense. Right in
perfect.
the
Yeah.
middle. Yeah, that works. It's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yep. So I'll go back to that. I think that's right along the railing there. I think is where you put the wiggle wire. Did you have it anywhere else, Tina?
Yeah, because
But
that's
yeah,
a big section. I can see that really
taking the wind and
taking the
flapping.
wind and the and
Yeah,
whacking back and forth. Yeah,
that's
that's good.
that's an awesome idea though, because I bet you as soon as it starts staying a little bit warmer, you'll be able to use that to start some plants in a little later in the spring. But that's so cool. Right now, we went from our 50-degree weather last weekend to this weekend. So you were talking about the snow, and Bella and I went out and walked Puddin in that, and she actually was enjoying the feeling. I have her super bundled, by the way, but she was enjoying the feeling of the snowfall on her face, which was I thought was kind of funny. Um, she actually fell asleep on the walk eventually because she had a few layers on and she was nice, toasty, warm.
You got real wasabi. So real wasabi is difficult to
Wasabi
grow.
ribs.
Are you getting a start or a seed
Huh.
or?
From Baker Creek?
Yeah, so wasabi typically it grows about an inch a year, so you need to grow it about 3 years before you can harvest it. It also is very particular, so it usually grows along cool, somewhat shaded, like babbling brook side
Hmm.
traditionally. So there are people that are massaging it a little bit and
You put
and
it in a water
cultivating it.
garden or something like that?
It likes cool running water. I don't know, and I don't think it likes direct sun. It does not like high heat. It wants a temperate, but it's tough to grow. And again,
I've never tried
it
it,
grows
yeah.
about an inch. And people really couldn't do it much. People are now doing a little more here, getting used to it. But of course, an inch a year. So your average
From seed.
true wasabi
Just from seed.
can run $100 a pound wholesale, restaurant wholesale, for high quality wasabi. But give it a shot. it's going to be tough, but if you get it, that's great.
Yeah, so yeah, what other things are you trying from Baker Creek? That's awesome. We still have to order our seeds. I got to get that going. It's just been so busy, and next week's gonna be nuts
The week
too.
after that's busy too.
Every week is every week is busy around here, it seems. But
Yeah. Have my
um,
butchering class on hold. Don't know if we're going to pull that off. I'd like to do it in March. I have not had. I need about a day to finish up some preparations, and I haven't been able to get that day. I got too many other
yeah,
projects going on, and I'm in a new business class right now. Also, that's probably going to take some extra time. So
yeah, that just started. So Lily's
cuisine.
Cuisine. Wow, cool. Hello,
Oh,
hello. Another new person.
yep. We like
Um,
cuisine.
yeah, he liked food at all. I like trying food. He likes cooking food. So that is a good match. In fact, the next section of our show, by the way, is Ask the Chef. So if you have questions for Mike about cooking things, you can ask him. But what was this lovely dish that you put
That was
together for
actually
us?
pretty quick. It was
Yeah.
looks nice to see. So that's a piece of Turkish feta. Now that's a cow feta. It's from a well, the most popular Turkish feta producer. So it comes in those little like hockey pucks. They're about half-size hockey pucks in brine. Unfortunately, they don't sell the sheep or goat or blended one here. That's a cow one. But anyways, it's a nice feta style. Just have some mixed tomato. So I guess I had half a cucumber there. And then we have za'atar from Lebanon, and so I put a good heavy, sprinkle of za'atar just over the cheese, and dumped a good amount, an ounce and a half of the Alicante olive oil over the top of it, and let it just kind of spread down. So, and then just a pinch of salt. So basically, it's a tomato and cheese and cucumber,
Like a Middle
Greek or
Eastern.
Turkish or whatever salad, and
Yeah.
yeah, didn't have any olives laying around, so we didn't have any olives, but it was really good. So it was it's a nice little fat, lean cheese. I don't think I've said I was going to send that picture over to Tony and Carol
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
who do the olive oil. I don't think we have yet, so I
No.
should show them because it came out nice.
Yep. We have it on Lightroom if needed. So yeah, that was a really good salad for a meal.
Leftover
Tina,
crawfish tails, and you don't like them in omelets. Um,
crawfish
I'm
tails.
not sure omelet would have been the first thing that came to my mind. I don't think I've ever had them in omelet,
Huh.
although with eggs would be fine. Um, but I don't think I would have come up with that off the top
What
of my
do you
head. Yeah,
do
what
with
do
your
people think
crawfish
you do with
tails?
extra crawfish tails?
You've had a lot of pictures of crawfish tails.
I assume they're out of the shell like frozen crawfish tails, which can be used.
No, they're in
Oh, they're
the
in the
she.
shell.
I think
Are
she
they
was
still in
showing
the
the tail.
shell?
She was showing pictures on Facebook
Well, they're
of
more
them as
flavorful. Yeah, they're
shells.
more
Yeah.
flavorful in the shell.
Are you
Um,
talking about the shell itself or the tail from inside the shell, the meat? What do you want to do with the meat or what do you want to do with the shell? That's which one? So, yeah. So,
yeah, etouffee is kind of the standard. Absolutely. I kind of made a fake etouffee this week for a sauce with some like Michigan perch. It was a crab etouffee, and Cindy's like, "What's etouffee?" I was
I
like,
was.
"That's." It was actually like a crab bisque that I had,
Uh-huh.
and I had some. What did we had corn with that and rice. So we had some perch that I put a little blackening Cajun cast iron pan, put that over the rice. Oh, we had peas with it. It was peas, and then I had a little thing of crab soup left. Um, and I put it over the top and called it etouffee because it's getting close, pretty close. It made the right thing. But yeah, etouffee is usually
Fish bait.
fish bait. It's a great fish bait. Uh,
White picket fences, put it in the garden.
yeah,
Fish bait.
I don't mind crawfish. I don't have crawfish a lot.
No.
I've worked at some places where we've served them. Yeah, doing a crab boil where or a crawfish boil where you do a quick Cajun dip and a real heavy boil base, and you can pre-cook some corn or potatoes. Of course, you can get some nice little frozen corn rings, cheap at this time of year from the freezer section. That works pretty nice. So corn and potatoes and some crawfish. It works great in fried rice. It's a
Oh
really
yeah, yeah,
nice
yeah.
way to do like a lobster or crawfish fried rice. You can also put in little chunks of ham, or or other things with it. Do a mixed fried rice, but it's really tasty in that because it creates some of those savory flavors. I used to do a fried rice with lobster pieces left over, and I would put in coconut milk, lemongrass, peas. What else? We did it.
I don't know.
I think I finished with some sriracha.
Mm.
It was a very like Thai style, like playing with like Thai flavors in a fried rice, and
Mm.
then with like lobster legs or whatever's left over, chunked up claw meat. That works really nice.
Jackie says, "What's your favorite dish that you like to cook for your family?" He doesn't repeat things very often.
Not a lot. I'm always kind of using what we have or what we find. A lot of times I'll go to the different stores and just pull things that are on special because if it comes at a good price, I mean we don't spend tremendous amounts on groceries. I guess we spend a lot more than some people because I don't know. I follow the frugal family foods, and
Yeah.
I get shocked by what
How little people
how
spend.
little people spend, and almost sometimes how sad it is how little people can spend. And then I
Yeah.
don't think we spend a lot. Being a professional chef, I do buy ingredients, but I also source things that are on special or little known uses and get good value. I also get trades at the market and
Yeah.
or good deals on things where there's extra stuff. So I'm usually in and out of like two or three different grocery or food stores in the market every week, which means I can cobble together seasonal and ever changing things like that Bulgarian, or no, it wasn't Bulgarian, the Turkish feta. I got a
Mm.
can of it that must have about six of those
Those
pucks in
rounds.
it.
Yeah.
I think it was $8.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a really, really good price, which is why I bought it. I don't know if I'll ever come across it again, but it's like, well, Cindy really likes feta. I don't mind it, but
Yeah.
Cindy likes it.
I like it. I like it in
I
salads.
also knew it was a very authentic traditional feta or brine cheese, so I thought I'd get one. And brine cheeses last quite a while, though we should finish it up.
Yeah.
We've had three or four of them, and I think there's at least two more in the tin. So
Yeah, we need to finish that. But
yeah, so that's I don't know. I really don't have a favorite thing to make. I tend to make a lot of hashes, stir fries, and throw togethers because you can take leftovers, use them up, and make them sort of more complex
mm,
without going too much extra labor. You'd never be able to repeat them sometimes because of the variety of things or the amount of work if
what they
you did it
are.
all from scratch. Had some beets, some golden beets and red beets that were in the fridge from a local farm that we used up last night. Um, yeah,
We had some grits.
had some grits. We've got
Yeah.
lots of grits. We haven't eaten many grits this winter, and I've got packages from the fall.
Yep.
And I know when the market opens in May, the people that sell the grits are gonna be like, "I'm sure you need more grits." And so I have like 2 bags. I've got fine and coarse, so we need to
So
do
you're
some
having
more
grits.
cornbread or
And we're not
grit
in the
things.
South, but we do grits.
Yeah, now and then.
Yeah.
I had some grits last Sunday actually. I was like, man, these are Midwest grits. They were using
At
Anson
a
Mill,
restaurant. At a
Anson
restaurant.
Mill white cornmeal, which is very good grits. It was a cheese grits, and they called that their cheese was a sharp Cabot's, which is a good sharp cheddar. And I'm like, man, they're missing the love. It's so not got a good base of flavor, and I can tell they don't have a pound of butter to a pound
Mhm.
of grits, and
And it was at a notable
it was at
restaurant.
a notable restaurant
Yeah.
that cooks good food.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what? There's no love in this. They're doing the Midwest grits, and they weren't
Yeah.
bad. I've had lots of bad grits. They were not bad. They just weren't great.
Tina's goal this year is to not buy any herbs or spices. She wants to grow all of them.
You can save a lot of money, although I would say some dry spices, we've talked about that before, the time and the activity and the volume needed, it may not,
If you're drying them.
yeah, it may not be perfect for everything.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people make their own dehydrated garlic or garlic chips, and if you get a lot of garlic, that's fine. But if you got to buy some granulated garlic or granulated onion or something like that, or you run a little low on time and you need some dry time, you know what? It's cheap, no big deal.
Yeah. But we do a lot of our fresh, we do some of our fresh herbs
Fresh
through the
herbs, yeah,
summer.
and I highly recommend fresh herbs when possible. So
Yeah.
with cilantro, basil, parsley, almost no other way to do it other
Yeah.
than fresh, and many other things are so much nicer. Even thyme
We have two
is
types of
nicer
thyme.
fresh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have lemon thyme and some standard English thyme. Or yeah, I think it's English thyme.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw it earlier. Yeah, your comfrey. I don't know how long. You keep it on there
Yeah,
until either the finger feels better or it falls off. I guess.
the finger falls off or the comfort falls
Yeah.
off. What'd you do to your finger, Tina? Um, okay, and Carrie says, use a bag of frozen green beans as ice when fingers hold up. Yeah,
Frozen
absolutely.
vegetables work good.
Yep,
Frozen peas or corn are among the best because they're small and they mold to your
to your
injured extremity
area.
better than some things. But yeah, they work really well.
Yeah, I should be icing.
Spanish rice. So Spanish rice might be like a paella. There's a lot of ways, but it's basically replicating a simple paella. And by the way, you could make paella with your crawfish tails. So you could put in chicken and sausage and then your crawfish tails. So paella is a lot like a jambalaya, but slightly different. It doesn't have the Cajun flavors. But yeah, for
Different
Spanish
spices.
rice, I would use fresh granulated onion and garlic. Ideally, sweat that down. Um, and then you could use either some saffron or some turmeric. Both will make it yellow. Both will have different flavors, but are both nice, or a little of both. Saffron's very expensive, so no, we don't cook with saffron. Actually, I have a little local grown saffron I need to
Yeah.
use, but I don't cook with saffron at home typically, but I've cooked with lots of saffron for work. And then you may want to put a touch of paprika or smoked paprika. Spanish smoked paprika isn't overly pricey. It's more than regular paprika. And Spanish paprika is more flavorful. Garnishing paprika or American-esque red paprika is mostly about the color, and Spanish paprika is used to flavor a lot of things. So it's got a real nice deep flavor. Um, and you could put some diced vegetables in there, some scallions or some tomatoes. You could add a little tomato sauce, but it's more like moving in like a Mexican Spanish rice. Sometimes is just simply some um, tomato sauce, or actually tomato juice works really well. So a little granulated onion, granulated garlic, and um, tomato juice, and then add just a touch more water because some of that juice is pulp. That makes a really nice Mexican style, like doing, putting on the side of heaven, whatever. So that's a little different than the Spanish one. Do not use V8.
Hi, Holly.
V8 has way too much pulp and stuff, and it will rise to the top. It will burn on the bottom, and you will not have enough water. I know that because I've tried it. I'm like, well, if we had a place where we had lots of tomato juice and V8 around for things. I was like, well, if tomato juice is good, V8 will probably be better in the rice. No, V8 does not work because of the composition of all the vegetables in it, or at least not with adding a lot of water. So, yeah, so that's two ways. So look towards paella or the very, very simple. And a simple like Spanish Mexican rice may have a little white pepper in it too. I find that gives it sort of an authentic flavor, and it all depends on what region of Mexico you may be in. But for a little generic,
Yeah.
And that's so simple, so inexpensive. It's a great way to change up white rice when you're bored of white rice. Is throw that little bit of tomato and spices, and thyme never hurts in rice. I always seem to put thyme and bay leaf in rice.
Tina wants to buy a fancy dehydrator from her market profits, and she goes starting to sell things at market. That's cool.
So if you're doing market, two things you may want to look at doing is you may want to get a simple LLC arranged. You do not have to pay $600 and go to someplace like LegalZoom. You may be able to do it actually through some of your startup. I think SBA sometimes even does classes that helps you get a LLC. So that protects you a little bit, your business from your personal. If anything happens, it also allows you to take your tax credits, and with the very high deduct deductions that are built into taxes now, you can't really take a lot of those things back out. You can take them from profits. So you may want to get an LLC, And you may want to get some simple market insurance. Many markets require you get them. And if you want a good hint, I would use Flip, possibly FLIP. They are for food
Oh, it's
trucks
Holly, not Holly. Sorry.
and market. They do food and market, and they're really inexpensive for small groups. It's for people that don't own a building, but it covers you with all these different things going on, um, moving things around and whatever else. So those are two things. Even just selling vegetables, things shouldn't happen. People shouldn't get sick. People shouldn't get hurt. But I would look to. You can also just do a DBA for a name, but that is as good as you're doing an LLC and a real simple insurance policy. One of my markets, or maybe two of my markets, require insurance.
Mm.
Most events I go to require insurance. I carry $2 million policy, which is a few $100s a year, but I carry just just in case. And but a lot of times they actually want to see that, and
I
I do
wonder if
have
that's
markets that
cheaper
want that.
for farmers at all.
There, and the other thing is, well, and mine's pretty cheap because it's for small growers and people that kind of cook and make things. But there are similar market gardener grower, and you can do that probably through your ag office, your county ag office. Will know if they don't offer it, and then the other person I think farmers insurance, I was told at one point, even if you don't have a policy with farmers insurance, which only certain people do, they may still cut a
Mm.
market or small farm policy super cheap. But you can ask around because you may be required that. But it's a good thing. A lot of people skip over it and then they have problems. So not that there's many
Could
problems in
have
a market.
problems.
Yeah, I mean there's minimal problems in a market, but they do happen. So good things to do.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to Tina's question there, but holy is holy hummer, I guess. Sounds like oh, the Mexican rice is hard to do. Any tips for not burning it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So, and the other thing is when you put in tomato product because it's got sugar in it, it burns easily. So, yeah, your typical short grain rice is about 1 part water or liquid, or 1.5 parts liquid to 1 part rice. Can be 1 3/4. A fatter rice or like a converted Uncle Ben style is 2 to 1. I'd always tell you the directions, but the fatter the rice, the more water. Um, Start it, bring it to a simmer, and then turn it or bring it up to a simmer on high, and then bring it down low. Rice cooks really nice in the oven. So if you have an ovenable pot that doesn't have a plastic handle or something, it's going to melt. Set your oven at 350. Bring it to a boil. You cannot get things easily to boil in an oven. You need to bring them to a boil. That includes your stews and braises. But if you pop them in the oven for about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, as soon as it comes to a boil, lid on, you'll get perfect rice, and it should not burn on the outside. The heat bathes at 350 and actually cooks rice and stews gentler and better because it surrounds it in heat, and that will prevent burning. The other thing you can do um, is make sure you don't put too much in a pot. Rice probably shouldn't be more than a few inches tall. So if it looks like you're filling the pot all the way, go to the next size up pot and only fill it halfway. Rice that cooks at 3 4 inches high or less seems to absorb the water better and not be soggy on the bottom and dry on the top and things like that. Use the lid. Also, if you have a big headspace, you can put a little piece of pastry paper over the top of it. That'll keep some of the moisture at the top. It's called a um,
Forgot.
it'll come back to me.
Okay, Tina said a little bit ago, what is your favorite sauce? Tomato. I think we went over that before. A little bit Amish paste we've grown.
I like aroma style. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that San Marzano is
We did opaca or however you say
yeah,
that one.
I'm not convinced that San Marzano has a huge preference over other ones. I know somebody says, "Well, I got San Marzano and I got the same soil composition from Italy and I put all this soil in." And I'm just looking at it, I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, that's nice. It's a nice little hobby and see what happens. But remember, terroir, your soil conditions and your weather and weather being your heat in the day and at night, and your moisture and your humidity and your light, and everything can change it. So a perfect San Marzano grown in a perfect region in Italy isn't necessarily going to be the same as it would be in here. So, uh, but yeah, any of your thicker walled, fleshy, flesh, firm Roma style or
Mhm.
whatever uh, is likely going to be on. And then picking them firm but ripe, as ripe as possible. The
Mhm.
ripeness makes the bigger difference in the variety, I think.
How sweet they are, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Sofrito, yeah, add a sofrito to anything. So you can define cuisines by the herbs they use, somewhat the cooking technique, but there's only so many cooking techniques, but mostly by the herbs and the vegetables that are used, and a few spices. So in European cuisine, we use mirepoix, onion, carrot, celery. In Spanish cuisine and much Latin American cuisine and Caribbean, you use a sofrito, which is onions, usually celery, and peppers, green peppers. You can always vary that. You can take out the celery and you could use red peppers or mix it around, but it's typically those three items, and that's a sofrito, and that's the flavor. And you can also blend it up in like green sauce in the Caribbean and things, but that's the beginning to starting many soups, stews, and rice dishes. So sofrito brings a lot of flavor. The beautiful thing is mirepoix or sofrito are inexpensive, fresh. And so you chop them up quick. And some people cook out a sofrito in a lot of oil, and then they pack it into jars and hold it sort of pre-cooked so it's faster. That's a traditional Spanish thing to do. And sometimes you'll add in like annatto, which gives a little bit of flavor but gives you that reddish color. Um, Nowadays, people kind of mimic that with some other colors and things. Some of the Goya and other, large
Mm.
branded things and Nestle's and whatever.
Oh,
But you
there's
can make your own.
two people have joined us, by the way. Rustic Traditions,
Oh yeah, yeah,
hello,
yep.
and 13 Moons, hello, hello. Um, White Picket Fence says they only eat wild long grain rice. Gets interesting trying to find new ways to fix it.
Oh yeah, and going back to the rice, if it overcooks slightly, so a lot of times you can cook rice three ways. You can steam it with pure steam. You can boil it where you boil the water and you pour it in. You can rinse it and put it in, which removes some of the nutrients, but can keep it fluffier and lighter if you want it more loose. If you want it more sticky, you don't. The other thing is you can saute it in some oil. So you kind of saute your vegetables, your sofrito or your onion or whatever, and then you roll around in some hot oil, and then you cook it, and that's the beginning of a pilaf.
Oh, hi, Butcher Baker.
A pilaf should be stirred at the end with a fork. It should be forked light and actually usually blend in butter. Old style American white rice with butter is actually a French preparation of a true pilaf. And I will tell you, most cooks and restaurants don't even know what a pilaf is. It's pretty good when you do it right, even with kind of like plain white rice. It's also made with chicken stock frequently,
Mm.
or veal stock, blonde stock. So
Well,
that's one thing. If you do get it browning on the bottom, sometimes that's called a tortilla or a little crispiness. That is very common in Asia, as well as through Latin America and many places. And that, as long as it's not burned black, it takes on sort of a nutty popcorny flavor.
mhm.
And people fight over scraping. If you have the oil, you need the oil in the pan to do that usually. A little bit of oil. It should come off the pan pretty easily,
Mm.
and you save it to the end, and you eat it sort of like a little
Did you see
popcorn
that
rice
one?
cake.
Holy Hummer says put it in sizzling rice soup with lots of sound.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, that's sort of the same. It's the same
Yeah.
type of deal. So yep, that's a great thing to do. So you got multiple ways. I try and keep a couple of types of rice around. I have like a basmati. Actually, it's a slightly different, short, medium, well, like a medium grain but fine grain. Basmati is a long grain.
Mhm.
Sometimes I keep jasmine rice, which is a scented medium grain rice. And I do like wild rice a lot. Wild rice is not true rice. It's a American grass seed, and that needs to cook. It's expensive. It's very nutty. In fact, I usually blend it a small portion or 50-50 with white rice or another grain, just because of the price and because it's very kind of earthy and herbaceous and can be a little overpowering. It needs to cook for 45 minutes or so before, so it completely breaks open and becomes palatable. Um,
Did you know there's a wild rice that grows naturally in northern lower peninsula Michigan?
that's pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah, that's pretty much what wild rice is.
Yeah.
It's actually, most of it comes traditionally, I think, from Minnesota.
Okay.
And it's a grass grain, so it's a very long seed.
It's a wetland.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So the wild rice, what I do with that is, fourth method, I put in boiling water in a generous amount of water, and I actually cook it till it breaks open, and maybe a seasoned water. I may put some onion or some vegetable or a little stock or salt or something in it. And when it all, most of it begins to break open, I will actually pour off the liquid that takes off some of the bitterness, and I will strain out the rice, and then I'll let it either serve it or I'll let it cool, and I'll blend it in with other things like a wild rice stuffing. So that way you can infuse some flavors, even if it's a little chicken base or something,
White
and
picket
vegetables.
fence said that they were told that the carbs are lower in wild rice.
I would guess so. It's got more fiber.
Fiber,
It's
so it
it's
doesn't
less
absorb
of a
much.
starch mass
Hmm.
than a large grain, large granule of a white rice, which is also polished or hulled. So you're gonna, yeah, it's a more nutritious. It's got some nice minerals in it.
Hmm.
So yeah, wild rice is not uncommon in this part for sure. Most of the blends you buy have a tremendous amount of other things in it to cut the cost. So it's, you got to go out of your way to get and expect to pay some real money for a pound of wild rice. But it's a nice item. It goes great with with game. It's great to make stuffings with it. Going back to what is Uncle Ben's. Uncle Ben's is actually converted rice, or parboiled rice. So
White
what?
picket fences, they have a few different types in Uncle Ben's.
Well, yeah, Uncle
Yeah.
Ben sells. They're doing all kinds of blends, but they're traditional, slightly brownish, fat. It's a fat grain, medium size but wide, and it's got a kind of a brownish hue to it. What they do is, I believe they parboil or they pre-cook or steam it with some of the hull or the outer surface out on the outside, and so it's partially cooked. Then they dry it, and somewhere in the process they remove that outside, but it's taken on a little bit of the color, and then and it's collapsed. And they've also coated it with a little extra vitamins, so it's more nutritious than a traditional white rice. And then you would and so it's dried. It cooks a little faster. It takes on more water. You're almost 3-to-1 water on parboiled,
Hmm.
and yeah, so it's converted, or you've converted the starches in it. So you've gone through this process.
Yeah.
That is the preferred rice through much of the world. One, it was more nutritious than your other types because it had the extra nutrients added and it had taken in this process. That is a very traditional through much of, but it has a unique flavor. I don't really care for it greatly.
Mm.
It reminds me of kind of like cheap buffet stuff and cafeterias, and because that's what they'll use. Um, or some, if not Uncle Ben, some variety. It's not a bad rice at all. What is nice about it is it stays super loose. It's firm, but it does not, the granules do not stick to themselves. So terrible for chopsticks, but it's great for doing buffet work and where it needs to hold a long time, or
Oh, thank you.
tossing it in different things.
I've never been a fan of it.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad item,
Yeah.
but it's fed much of the world, and so in a lot of areas that became the rice,
Yeah.
although that was not the traditional rice. It's a good method.
See
So
what 13 Noons was talking about for her daughter. She is culinary student and was accepted to American Pavilion during the
oh,
Cannes
nice.
Film Festival. So she's going to
I
France.
knew somebody who worked the American Pavilion. I
Yeah.
don't remember. It was a number of years ago, but did that, and it's a big deal. Yep.
Jackie asked if you make your own stock for soup, stews, and other
Yeah, I
dishes.
do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I keep. I have a little chicken base. Actually, I have a little beef base around. Um, for I need it for a project. That's why I had it. So beef base is harder because we don't take in whole. So stock is based on whole animals. So in restaurants, we're cutting whole animals, and they were grinding and making all these pates and terrines and trying to use everything. We're going back 100 years ago ish. Um, it was easy to do it because you were trying not to lose money. You're getting money for nothing, just the labor. But the labor and the kettles and the the energy was fairly cheap at that point. So beef is hard, and so if you need sometimes a little beef base just to kick things up, or put a little half a teaspoon or a teaspoon in a stew. Chicken base is less usable, but it's actually higher quality. Beef base, to get a good beef base, is hard to find one that actually has much beef in it. So they're fine to use, but they got a lot of salt and sometimes a lot of
Yeah.
MSG, and it's mostly yeast extract. And many times chicken is listed as one of the last ingredients in chicken bouillon. There's no chicken in it generally, and if it is, usually it's like chicken fat, little chicken fat, just say it's in there. Um, but because we have our own chicken, so typically, yeah, if I'm putting one in the crock pot, which I might be doing tomorrow, I'm thinking, um, I'll take some of that liquid that comes off and I'll save that. I'll get a quart or two and use it for something. If I am roasting chicken, which we don't always do a lot because they go in crock pots or other things, when I get 3 carcasses or like 4 or 5 backs, if I'm using other stuff that didn't go on the plate directly, I guess it wouldn't matter. But
And you keep the feet too.
we keep the feet and stuff. I will boil that up, and that'll make a gallon.
Mhm.
Feet and wingtips and backs are among the best for the making it thick and flavorful. And you get a really clear, if you use the wings or wingtips and the feet, you get a really clear base, like Chinese style chicken stock for like chicken soup, which is almost a grayish, very light, is typically a lot of feet, and actually can have some pork bones in there too. That most of the pork chicken stock combo is really, really tasty. So we do make our own chicken stock, one, because it's cheaper. Two, I don't have to put anything in there. You can use your vegetable trim that's laying around. Sometimes save that up. And restaurants, again, it's easier because you're getting more trim. But most restaurants have cut those corners because they don't want to pay the labor. They don't have the space. They don't have the time. They don't know how to have lazy cooks. They have owners that hire lazy or unprepared chefs that choose not to or don't know how to run a
Or
proper kitchen.
or those
Um,
not very well
so
trained.
the way I define fine dining is you scratch cook as much as reasonable, and you make your own sauces, and those sauces are traditionally stock derived. If they're going to be meat based, they're going to come from stock, and as much of that stock as possible is going to be made with you. Not that you aren't fortifying things with a little bit of base or other things, or you can actually buy some good commercial pre-made stuff now. You can buy a lot of really bad stuff that pours out of jars and pastes and powders, and they have limited uses and ways to use them properly and lots of ways to abuse them. A lot of people use chicken base because it's so salty. They use it to season everything. Like, it needs more chicken base, which they mean is it needs more salt. You can actually get unsalted stocks, which don't taste very good, but when you add the salt, all of a sudden they taste okay. So
White
it's a
pig,
big conversation, but yeah, I mean, that doesn't apply to quick dining and fast food. It's just not the type of food that's produced.
White Pig Fence just did a pork roast with chicken stock for the pulled pork. It was the best ever tasted.
Yeah, and you can get good gelatin, you get good flavor. Now, traditionally, veal stock was used for everything because veal is very neutral. It's savory, but you can't really distinguish a flavor, so you can push it any way you want. That's like a white veal stock or a white beef stock. They're very pricey. We don't do a lot of that, so we've moved away to almost all chicken stock or chicken base. Chicken also is kind of neutral, but it always takes on a chickeny flavor, a little more so than the beef veal. It's usually not a problem. If you're cooking chicken or poultry, it's fine. If you're cooking something like pork or beef, that's more, if it's in the roasty world a little bit, or a soup base and it's got a little chicken flavor, it's either covered up or it kind of
Blends
combines and
in.
it tastes fine. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can use chicken base. You can also do vegetable stock, which doesn't use bones but uses any edible trim that, and you could definitely work off of a vegetable stock too. With vegetable stock, sometimes you want to add a little gelatin or agar, and sometimes you want to put a couple drops of things like yeast extract or soy if you can eat soy, or seaweed or things to give it a little more savory component, which comes from meat and not quite as easily from vegetables.
Excuse me.
So yeah, stock is really, really important as a foundation for flavor, but nutritional cooking, hospitals and everybody else say, oh, we're cooking nutritionally, and they have all these bases and salt things, and like, no, if you're not making stock, you're not nutritionally cooking for things that need a flavorful liquid, because you can impart all these vegetable nutrients and flavors, which means you can reduce your salt, reduce your fat, um, and you get really tasty
Food.
high nutrition instead of things that taste good but don't add any great amount of nutrition to the back of it.
How do you make piccata?
Yeah. Stock should always be unsalted, by the way. Stocks are made unsalted because a lot of times you reduce them by half or by 4 times or 8 times. You never know in the process of thickening them if you want to boil them down, or you're going to cook something like a stew and it simmers and releases liquid. You never know what your salt level is going to be, so stock should be unsalted
You don't salt
or
it until you use
extremely lightly salted, if anything. You can then season and salt it
when you use
in the
it.
cooking process a little bit to begin with, and then you can finish seasoning it when it's done and you know your liquid level. Um, Seasoning a stock when it finishes is dangerous because
Because if you're going to use it and reduce it, you
you
get
get weight.
really
You're
too
gonna
much
have to
salt.
stop due to the salt content, maybe not the flavor
Yeah.
level, so or the thickness of it.
Go back to Tina's question.
Piccata, yeah. So piccata usually has capers, and it's pica. It's sour. It's strong. It's so. Um, It's not spicy, but it's usually got capers in it, and then lemon juice or citrus or vinegar or white wine or verjus, white wine juice. So some combination, um, and it's typically, say, a chicken stock reduced, and then it may have a roux base of flour and butter to thicken it, or cornstarch. If you have the time to make the flour butter roux, it's a little silkier, better flavor, and then you mount, and then so like say chicken piccata, frequently you flour it or put a starch on the outside of the chicken, you sear it lightly golden, and then using that pan you actually develop the sauce, and then you put so I'd put in white wine. Hey,
Felix wants
I'd
up.
put in a white wine, the capers, little chicken stock, simmer and boil that down as fast as I can. And I'd add a whole bunch of butter. I'd mount it with butter and actually swirl it in to emulsify it. And I'd put the chicken right back in that last portion of time, so it's taking on all those flavors. May need a little salt or pepper. And that's sort of a basic chicken piccata. Sometimes it's garnished with some little lemon wedge or some little lemon supremes where you cut just the fruit out of it. You can do it with veal. It's usually a mild white meat. You could do a pork piccata, honestly, although pork chop piccata would be fine. That type of thing, yeah. And then if you do the opposite, you egg batter it, where so sometimes you do an egg dip to hold your flour on, and then flour. Sometimes just flour it lightly. If you flour lightly and then you dip your um, chicken or veal or whatever in egg and brown that off slightly, you can get a franchise or a francesi, depending on French style or the Italian version of French, which is really nice. And that can also be finished with a simple lemon butter, lemon white wine sauce, or even a piccata with the capers. It's also very nice. The egg batter will keep your chicken or your veal more tender because it holds in some of the moisture.
13 moons behind us. It's not inflated. It's actually a stuffed animal
It's Bella's
goose.
goose.
It's Bella's goose. There's 2 chickens with it that
Easy
she
with
got
the
for
claws.
Christmas. Um, that Mike's mom gave Bella for Christmas, so she has her own flock.
Chicken piccata. Yeah, it's a huge brunch item. It's a huge buffet item, especially East Coast. It's cooks make it like crazy. It's easy to do. It's easy to make it bad, but it's also not hard to make it good. And it's inexpensive. That's why chefs like doing it, and people order a lot because it's kind of home food. I recommend work on making it at home, and you'll find out how inexpensive. And just using chicken breasts, split them nice, split them in half so they're nice and thin. Um, veal piccata is fine, but honestly, you don't taste the veal that much. I'd rather do something else if I'm, the limited times I'm cooking veal. But chicken piccata is great. You can also do it with fish, like a white fish, a sole, a mild fish. You can put piccata sauce over salmon. Honestly, it's the lemon and capers is great with quick seared salmon. But yeah, that's something. It's a pan sauce. It doesn't really need much stock. You could even use the stock and the gelatin's nice, but you could use a little pinch of base if you want, and you can make that. It's a fast, finish it in the pan and put it on the plate, and you can do it any night of the week, and it really doesn't break the budget. And it's because of the salt and acidity of the capers and the lemon juice or white wine. You get big flavor out of it.
So, Tina, I think it's supposed to be Gus and two Silkies, although she couldn't find black Silkies. She found a white chicken with fuzzy feathers that she thought looked like a Silkie, and one that I think looks like a Splash. It's black and white, or white with black dots on it.
Smoked salmon is yum. I would not do piccata sauce with smoked salmon though, because smoked salmon's so salty already, and capers are so salty. Although people serve capers with smoked salmon, but I always have a hard time
Salt on
eating
top.
more than about a caper with smoked salmon because it seems like it's a little heavy
Salt
on
on
the
salt.
salt. But
Yeah.
yes, yeah, and piccata sounds fancy. I mean, you can serve it with a glass of white wine or a cider, or it's you can have people over and you put some nice garden vegetables and it works great for brunch. It's actually really nice for a morning sort of moderately lighter meal. I used to do so many picatas for funerals. It was always in funeral luncheons and many other luncheons and dinners too. So yeah, yep.
Tina has to go because she has 5 a.m. And actually, we should probably wrap up here too because it's after 10 and I do have to work tomorrow morning. And little one has fallen asleep on my lap here. So, unless there's any further questions, I think we caught all of them. I'm
Yeah,
just
no, those are
looking at
good.
that. Good questions though
Good
tonight.
questions. Yep.
Yep. So we will be back next Sunday. We might be a little tired, but we will be back next Sunday after our Why Not Festival on Saturday. And
Yeah, be
a nice,
unload from that. Hopefully we sell a lot of product and have a good. It's a
yeah,
big effort. It's kind of expensive for us to pull it all together, and it's a big effort. But
it's a fun event though.
yeah, it's generally
Yeah,
fun. And
yeah.
I've done so many wine events, most professional and even and charity wine events. It's like I've done enough of them. They're fine. I don't mind them. They're kind of fun, but sometimes they're just kind of a sloppy mess and
Yeah.
of bad wine. So I don't. So it's kind of fun to be out and about and see a whole bunch of people, and
Yeah.
but
And
the
it's
whole thing of wine
Valentine's.
fest of kind of
It's Valentine's weekend.
yeah.
So yeah, so I do hope everybody has a good, happy Valentine's Day, and maybe next
Butcher
week.
Baker Queso Maker. I am about to. I think somebody just bought my meat saw. I
Oh yeah,
think I have an old Biro or Bureau. I think 33 meat saw. It's probably from the 60s or 70s. It's in almost perfect condition. So clean and virtually no rust and been super well maintained, and I don't need it. So I think I got somebody to buy it, but
yeah,
I got to tell you, it's not the modern. It doesn't have all the safeties and all the stuff to
yeah.
trip up and try and get it uh, to work right. But it's just a really good piece of
So,
equipment. It's going to last forever. So
yep,
it's going off to somebody else's home soon.
yep. And yeah, so we will see you next week. We'll give you a little update on how the big event goes, and um, otherwise, I hope everybody has a happy, happy Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Take care.
Good
See you
night.
next week. Good night.